Welcome to Fun is Fundamental. Fun is Fundamental is a podcast for those who realize that the enjoyment of life is about having something deep in our souls which lights our fire. It's for those who maybe have lost that fire and feel like they are missing out on the pleasures of life. In each episode, I will share recent fun activities and focus on why having fun is essential for good health. I'm your host, Alenia, and I invite you to take this journey with me and join the pleasure-seeking movement. Hi, welcome to Fun is Fundamental. And today we are taking a trip down memory lane. And I realized recently that I have had 30 guests on my podcast. And I thought it would be a nice opportunity to kind of just go back and see what pieces of wisdom each of my guests have bestowed on us. And so I went through all the episodes and compiled little clips of each of the guests and, the things that they had to say. I hope that you find this useful and, helpful. So originally when I went into making this episode, I was going to do it all in one episode. Quickly figured out that was going to be way too long. So then I was like, okay, it's going to be in 2 parts. Also not going to happen. So this is going to be in 3 parts, 10 for each part. So here's the episode. I hope you enjoy. My first guest was Tiffany Guillaume-Morris, and this was way back in June of 2022. And since our podcast aired, she has produced her own podcast called Rose and Bud Conversations with her daughter. And you can, check that out where you stream podcasts. And in our conversation, we did have part of our conversation was around what children have to offer adults in like the wisdom of how to have fun and what we can learn from them. So here is a clip on that, and I hope you enjoy it.
I was even thinking of like having events for adults to find that kid in them again and just giving them permission to play and have fun where otherwise they wouldn't. And like the kids do that, like when I took my daughter to the park and, I'm sitting on the sidelines like we do as parents and watching her play. And then she comes over and she's like, Mom, come on, let's go get on the swing. And I'm like, no, well, there's kids over there right now. And I'm just, you get used to sitting out.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'm saying that, the 2 kids ran away, they left. And she's like, okay, it's open, now we can go. Okay. And within the first 3 seconds of being on the swing, I was just in that joyful moment, like, yes, this feels great. And I look over, I'm just like, thank you. Thank you for suggesting this and getting me on the swing. And that's the permission I needed, right? Or I'd just been sitting there. And then I had a great time just after swinging for a few minutes, putting my head back, feeling that, kid again joy, just for a moment.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even need to be like, that's the thing, like people feel like they have to plan things, but it can just be like these little moments,
Right. It comes totally unplanned. That's if you're in the moment and you can catch it like that instead of, dismissing it all the time.
Yeah, spontaneousness, because like I think that's the thing that like with adults, like a lot of times people like lose their ability to be spontaneous. like everyone wants to like control things and like plan things. So like when those things come up that aren't like planned, it's like, oh, like can't have that.
Plan on that happening. I didn't plan to have fun, or but yeah, that's the fun part of just going with the flow. And yeah, you gotta not be so serious. And I feel kind of sad for those people sometimes, because I'm like, oh, that really sucks, like that you can't find the joy and just like relax for a minute. Just enjoy, like some people can't do that. And I was telling my son, it's like a superpower that some of us have, that we're able to have fun and still find that joy, and that other people can't. We might have used to look at it like, oh, I'm not like them, so I'm wrong because I'm childish because I like to have fun. No, it's everybody, I guess, is different. And if they want to be serious, that's cool. But like, yeah, this joy is my superpower. And like you have that, you're able to connect with little kids. A lot of adults can't do that.
Yeah.
Like they're so far gone, right? Like they can't connect with the little ones. So that's special. I connect that way with little ones too. Like the kids love me and I love talking with them and just seeing like where their thoughts are, because they are important. And so many kids are not, they're like that old school mentality a lot of times where kids were just supposed to be quiet. They don't know anything, but they really do. We've just been constantly like sticking them in this box, not listening, but they have great ideas. Like when I listen to my daughter, I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. That's like just seeing where her mind goes and wonders and the thoughts she has. And they're really smarter than we give them credit for, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they have some wisdom for sure. And like, and they just see things in a different way. So sometimes they'll like just say something and you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. Like, but like, that's a really great way of looking at it. Like, yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I never thought of it like that, but you're totally right.
Yeah.
Or my youngest is really good for, well, mommy, why are you doing that? Like, why don't you just be like, why are you upset about this? And you can just do this. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do have a lot of wisdom.
They do. Yeah, we don't give kids enough credit for, for what they can add to the conversation and stuff. So
yeah, sometimes we need to take our cues from them.
Yeah.
How to live life. And that's why I love the, like the wonder and that the preschoolers, they have, that excitement of seeing things and seeing how they work and how cool they are. That's totally why I wanted to be a preschool teacher, because I'm like, but they just get to have fun. Like, I don't want to be a teacher and like teaching math or anything. I want to teach, just have fun like that, because that's the only time like it seems we're allowed to do it, right? Dance parties and art.
Yeah. We have, like at our school, we have a teacher who just does art. It's great. And they can, go to her and go in there like anytime they want. Like they're constantly able to just explore that, it's really great for them. Especially because, definitely in elementary school, like art and music and, things like that get cut so quickly. Like they're like the first things on the chopping block, when my next guest was Paula Yoles, and she also was on in June of 2022. And in our conversation, her her expertise is on emotional eating, and so we talk, the whole conversation is about, how tools to end emotional eating, and she really talks about it being with ease, and so yeah, here is a clip on that episode, and I hope you enjoy.
I was just thinking, like, food is fun. Like, it's if you like baking or cooking, it can be fun, or maybe you don't like doing it all the time, but you like holiday cooking a special dish that you're the person who makes that dish at the holiday and it's fun for you to make that, or so. And food is like part of every day. We have to eat to survive, and every celebration has food. And so that piece too, it's like, it's okay to eat food of all different types, but it's the enjoying it without having guilt or shame attached to it. Like if you're going to choose to eat it, like you're saying, like enjoy the little things. So if you're going to eat something, like enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like be like really, like you said, be mindful around what, like if you were referencing being outside of nature, but the same thing, like be mindful. I would recommend being mindful around your food, which I know is not so easy. So it's peeling the emotional layers that are keeping us stuck, and at the same time making concrete actions forward. And so, like when you're out on a walk, like you and I were just talking about, like stopping and looking at the flowers. Well, one meal a day, you could be like, okay, I'm going to make sure that for this meal, I'm going to actually stop, look at the food on my plate and enjoy eating it and tasting it and connecting to it more, and that can make a difference.
Yeah. People so often like just distractedly eat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Technology doesn't help with that, right? Because a lot of people watch TV or a movie at night and eat, and so there's very little connection to the food.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
Do you find that like people that emotionally eat sometimes feel like they're not supposed to feel like pleasure? Like is there a block between like the permission to feel pleasure and doing things like emotionally eating, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's I do think that for a lot, not all women, but for some women, and I'm only talking about women because I haven't worked with men, so I don't really know what their habits and patterns and inner thinking around this is, but it is something that affects males also. Is that well, there's the whole thing of like giving yourself permission to be attached to yourself, connected to yourself, know yourself. And part of that is knowing things that bring you pleasure. And then if you're supposed to be doing, that doesn't include pleasure usually, right? So, and I think a lot of families growing up, there's really mixed communication around having time to have pleasure. They're like, even like, it's like, oh, maybe you're on this sports team when you're growing up, but it's still like this hard drive competition thing, instead of like, oh, I'm just going to enjoy this and do this, and it doesn't matter how my team does. I mean, not everybody's like that, like freshman year of high school, I did cross country and track, and my coach was great around just being like, everybody's where they're at, and myself and my cousin, we were always the last two in, and she was always like, this is for you to enjoy and for you to compete against yourself. Don't worry about the rest. And so, I was able to feel better about myself. I didn't totally feel great about always being almost last, depended on was me or my cousin. But but I just think there's so much mindset junk in our culture around not allowing space and time for pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing it, your brain's usually thinking about your to-do list, or instead of just being in the moment.
My third guest was Jenny Lee, and our episode aired in July of 2022. And in that episode, we talked about our morning routine and how important it is for setting up your day, and how, how it frees you to have more fun in your life. So I hope that you enjoy this clip of my chat with Jenny.
Think of that. When they come to me, so my niche is really, it's really specific, right? Mm-hmm. And so whoever comes to me for this, they already know that they need it. Sure. They already make that decision that they need to make a change, right? And I think in the process, it's more like the old habits dragging them down. Yeah. A lot of it is that's the case, but I do have some success stories, but there are some that just kind of okay, maybe I'm not ready yet for this, maybe my body and my mind are not ready to get out of this comfort zone yet, right? Yeah. So it's really easy for them to fall back, but they know that whenever they're ready to get back on, I'll be here. But old habits die hard. Yeah, that's completely understandable. Yeah. And that's why my approach is small, tiny transitions, right? And adding the fun to it. So it is the 10, 15 minutes, and then maybe 5 minutes increments, right? By week. And then when you do all the fun things, something that you are eager to wake up for, it's like me, my mind and my body were associating the morning with negativity, right? And trauma. And that's why it was hard for me to get up. But when I discipline myself enough to wake up 10, 15 minutes earlier to do something fun, and then I started to familiarize myself with that emotion at that time of the day in the morning. And then slowly, after a couple of weeks, after 3 weeks, my mind and my body started to associate the morning as something good, as something fun, not negative anymore. Yeah. Right. And so that is when it starts to get easier for you to start adding more minutes to your morning. So you can add more things that you adding other things like maybe juicing. I mean, it can be, a little bit more of an effort, but you are nourishing yourself, you're so much healthier, but by doing that. Yeah. So that's kind of increments and the transition that needs to happen to make it easier for you. But just like everything else, it really depends on the readiness and the capacity of people to receive, right? Sure. When they're ready to just when they make that decision, I don't want to be in depletion anymore. Then all right, come and I'll help you.
My next guest was Sally Vicio. This is back in July 2022. And I mean, she's just an absolutely amazing. She is the owner of Glorious Inc. That is spelled Glorys, Glorious Inc. And she has her own podcast. And Our conversation definitely gave me one of my favorite quotes of the whole podcast, which is "Pet the whale." So the next clip is from her interview, and what what exactly does "pet the whale" mean?
Joy of being kids, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Playing in the dirt and everything. And you get older now, it's like, I don't want to get dirty. And it's like, just get dirty, just enjoy it, right? Like, just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't have to be about the dirt. Like, you can wash your hands off, you can wash your clothes, like, just go enjoy yourself, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
For sure. Yeah, we definitely like we'll go down to like, like the delta, like, you go to like low tide and like it's all like muddy and gross and you're like getting mud all over your jeans and you're just like, well, whatever. They can wash them. Like,
right.
It's like, who cares?
Oh, I'm that person. I'll wear shorts and sandals. I'll take the sandals off. So I'm like, from knee down, I'm good. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not afraid to get dirty. And I like when it comes to like doing like art and stuff like that, I actually really enjoy getting like messy, like doing it. Like it's just like it made it even more satisfying because I wasn't trying to like stay clean and everything.
Right. You just get into it. It's just like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And like I have certain shirts that I wear when I do certain things. So I'm like, so I don't care if it gets ruined. Like that's what it's for, right? Embrace it. It is what it is.
Completely. Yeah.
And I feel like people need more or less need to start embracing the moments, right? Like my fiance loves to say it, like, just pet the whale, babe. Just pet the whale. And then like when I first met him, I was like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, so many people live in their devices, right? They live like and they're looking at these things through phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, pet the whale, put the phone down and pet the whale, right? And like be in the moment and be there and just like appreciate what's happening in the moment instead of trying to record it and all these different things and taking videos that you'll never look at, right? Like I have folders and folders of videos and pictures and all these things that just sit on my computer that I never do anything with, but it's like, well, I want to record, I want to remember it. But it's like you'll remember it more if you really enjoy the moment, right? You be there in the moment. You can like really live in that space and have that memory to remember, right? And so I'm like, I appreciate it because it's a good reminder when I need it, right?
Yeah.
He's like, pet the whale, babe. I'm like, all right, I'm putting the phone down.
Yeah.
Like we went to the aquarium on a field trip yesterday, and I'm like, I could have taken videos of my son like petting the stingrays and stuff, but I was like, you know what? Phone in the back, and I dived in with him and we were petting them, and what a much better experience to be like, oh, they're both gooey, and we were like, ew, and like playing with each other, and like it was so much more fun because we were in the moment rather than me stepping back just taking pictures of him doing something. Right? He was like, mommy, thank you so much for coming today. And I'm like, babe, I'm so happy I was able to be here with you. Right? I'm like, I had that chance, and like I put the phone away and I got like 5 pictures from the whole day, but I'm like, but me and him had a really great time together. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes we really got to like just disconnect from that piece and just be here, right? To really have that fun that we really need, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. James Clemens was my next guest. The episode was released at the end of July in 2022. And James is the founder and owner of Freedom from Anger, LLC. And in the time since we last spoke, he has started a podcast, Freedom from Anger, that you can find wherever you listen to podcasts. So here is a clip of our conversation about working through anger towards a more happy, fulfilling life. What are some things that you talk to your clients about when it comes to self-care to manage their feelings?
Yeah, and we really tell people, the whole term anger management gets kind of a bad rap. Everybody has kind of preconceived notion of what anger management is. Count backwards from 10.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not anger management. That might be a technique that might work for some. We really try to focus on behavioral thinking, and we really try to get people to challenge their beliefs and their thought patterns to try to get a positive outcome. And we try to, and a lot of times we'll ask somebody just a simple question, or, are you happy? And if you're not happy, how can you become happy? So, like I said, we don't try to make it as complicated as a lot of people do, but we try to get down to the root. But it all kind of stems from our thinking patterns. So we try to hammer that home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Our thoughts really it kind of is everything when it comes to our happiness. Definitely.
Yeah, so I use quotes all the time. Probably one of my favorite ones is from Dr. Wayne Dyer. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of goes right along in with Dr. Albert Ellis, which is REBT, which we're both huge fans of. And it all comes down to our thoughts, our choices. So definitely use a lot of those quotes.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think is like the biggest thing that someone can do? Like, it can be like, it's a small thing, but it can make the biggest difference in how someone's thoughts, they can start to change their thought patterns.
I think probably the hardest thing that we really run into when we're doing our classes is being open to challenge the things that you were taught. Being open to challenge, okay, well, my mom told me this, my dad told me this, my granddad told me this, but to really question those things and go, okay, well, just because they said it, it might not be accurate in the current state of things and in your life. But to actually question those things is really, really, really tough for a lot of our clients, because if mom said it, it's gospel.
Yeah.
I can't question it. But unfortunately, in my line of work, my day-to-day job, I see a lot of incarcerated people that have that mentality. Like, this is what I was taught. This is what I'm supposed to do. I can't challenge it. I can't question it. Yeah. Even though they're getting all these negative outcomes.
My next guest is Brenda Winkle, and our episode came out in August of 2022. And our conversation really centered around saying yes to life, saying yes to things. She has a podcast called Your Yes Filled Life, and she also has a lot of other coaching mini courses. She's really into breath work. There's a lot that she's very much a yes person, so she works in a lot of realms to help her clients live more fulfilling lives. I hope that you like what she had to say. Would like to hear your take on fun and where you're coming from with it.
Oh, well, this is going to be good because I am very fun motivated. So everything in my life, I try to make into a game because I am highly motivated by fun. And so I gamify things for people in my courses. I gamify things for things that happen in my own house. And even when my daughter was little, she's 20 now, but even when she was little, we used to have this rose bowl. Do you know what a rose bowl is? It's like a round glass ball that you hold flowers in. Okay. And I think once upon a time back, in the 50s or something, you used to cut one rose and then you'd float the rose in the water inside the rose bowl. Okay. So it's a round globe type thing. And anyway, we used to have this rose bowl. And so we would cut up little tags of paper with fun ideas, and then we'd fold them up and mix them up. And then we'd pull one every day just to see, oh, what are we going to do today? Are we going to go to the park? Are we going to go to the library? Are we going to play with sidewalk chalk? What will we do?
I love that. Yeah, no, that sounds like great fun and like a really a charming way to interact with your children, because people get really serious and feel like, and also like people want to control everything and want everything to be planned. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. The control thing, I think that comes up when we're in fight or flight. Like the more stressed we are, the more we want to control things.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that in myself too. So when I start to think about, oh, it has to be this way, my schedule has to be da 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 da, I'm like, oh, that's time for a little break. Because if I'm trying to control all those things, I know that I'm in a stress response. And so then it's time for more fun.
My next guest was Ashley Bradford, and she is a money mindset coach. And she was a guest on the podcast in August 2022. Ashley is a wealth strategist and financial consultant. And I really took a lot away from her podcast episode, because finances was definitely something that I was struggling with. And so her ideas of how to have like a date with your finances was a really helpful and great idea. And so I hope that you enjoy this clip. Obviously, the people might be listening to this and being like, what does this have to do with fun? So like, I guess we could start talking about how can we like tie in some fun to make things not so heavy, and like, to make it like more of a pleasant situation to deal with our finances, to address our finances, make friends with our finances.
Yes. And the funny thing is, I feel like because fun is just like, it's subjective. So it's like everyone has a different version of fun. So it's like once you find what you already find exciting and fun about your life, then it's kind of just like, how do you mix them together? If you have fun going on hikes and being outdoors and having picnics in the middle of the park, why would it not be a good idea to be like, all right, cool, I already have fun doing this. Let's see if I can combine some of like my money conversations there. So if you have a group of friends, like, hey, y'all, let's meet at the park. We're already going to have this time together anyway. Mm-hmm. And then the topic just so happens to be money. So then you're in an environment where everyone feels comfortable. Everyone's already having fun. You have food, you have drinks, whatever like your picnic consists of. And then it just calms that environment to be like, this is not like I'm talking about court dates. Like, this is not something that's supposed to feel heavy. We're literally just having a regular conversation. It just happens to be around money. Mm-hmm. So just trying to combine the things that you already do for fun with your conversations about finances, about money, about questions that you have with money. Of course, they have games that you can play. I know like sometimes it's fun. They have apps and games, and like with your friends or your spouse, you guys could have competitions when it comes to like, if you have a problem with saving or you want to save more, or you have a trip that you want to go on, like why not compete against who can save the most money and then find creative ways to do that. So like just trying to like switch it up so that it doesn't feel like you're having boring money conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
Out of obligation.
Yeah. My next guest actually was on my most popular episode ever. She's Nancy Davis, and she was my guest back in September of 2022. And our conversation really centered around the power of aging and how things actually get better as we age. But she definitely has seen a lot more than what I have in the power of aging. And yeah, it's a really great episode, and here is a clip from it.
I think that women were not, this was kind of what we did, and we're not supposed to play big. And, really playing big, I mean, for a woman to become a CEO or something like that, you really had to kind of play in a man's world, and you had to kind of be a man, for which you were then criticized. And so I think that women in general, but especially older women, never really ask themselves so much of the time, like, what truly lights me up? What do I want to do that's just like amazing with these next however many 20, 30, 40 years? Like, what is really on my heart? And that's not something we have trained ourselves to think about, really. And so I think if if we all kind of went off and sat around and thought, what do I want to do? Like, do I want to become a singer? I mean, you don't have to be Taylor Swift, right?
Yeah.
You can, and who knows? I mean, anything goes, right? And so I think that we're just not trained to really ask ourselves, what is, some amazing thing that I want to do with my life? Because now I've got the time and probably more resources, and it's the time. This is the time of our lives, my friend. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. When there's a lot that you've touched on, like when we're younger, we're so like, there's so much, like for me and my spouse and all of us, we're so like focused on trying to, buy a house and
get ahead.
Yeah, get ahead.
Right. And plan for your old age.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like we need our retirement and all that stuff. So like at this point is like, obviously I want to encourage everyone to be able to like pursue things that they're passionate about and that they love.
Yep.
But the idea that you have this freedom to be able to, like, you don't have to think about that so much.
Right. And there's the only limitations for the most part. I mean, everyone has struggles, and at our age, actually, sometimes there are elderly parents that can take up a lot of our time and energy, and there are certainly other things. But for the most part, the only thing that holds us back at this point is ourselves. And that's our choice, and that is really exciting. Like, that's really, really exciting. And I know that your show is about fun, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It is so fun to be 58. It's so fun to be 58. So, a lot of my friends now, they are either retiring or winding down with their careers or whatever it is. And most of us, our kids are out of the house or almost out of the house and that kind of thing. And so there's so much more time. And so we do, a bunch of my friends, I've been busy on the horse farm, but a bunch of my friends have taken up biking, and I told them they have to wait for me and they have to be patient for me when it's my turn. But they're biking, they're doing these crazy, long, amazing bike rides and everything. And this is something they never had the time to do before. So, I have a friend who is 65. She just turned 65. And we'll all go on a big, we live, just outside Boulder, Colorado. So, a hike here in Boulder is like a capital H hike,
Yeah.
It's just, the bar is very high here in Boulder. But what people do athletically. And that little woman, and she is little, and she's this tiny little woman, and she's always out in front. She's 65 years old.
Oh.
Altitude, whatever, doesn't matter. Rocky, doesn't matter. She is out in front at 65 years old. And we just do, and we can just hang out and try new things. And I mean, that's the thing that's hilarious. And a friend of mine just retired, and she went to Costa Rica and volunteered at a wildlife rehab place. I think she was there for a month, just because, why the hell not? you know, because she could. So, just friends are just doing these amazing, incredible things. And it's just so much fun.
My next guest is Valerie David, and she was a guest in November of 2022. And she has a really beautiful, inspiring story about surviving cancer 3 times, which is absolutely crazy, and writing a play, The Pink Hulk, about this journey with cancer. And she definitely is one of my favorite guests. So so heartfelt and vulnerable and funny. Like, she's just ball of warmth and is just a really wonderful person and great person to talk to. So I hope that you enjoy this clip.
I was just grateful that, everyone stepped up to help. It wasn't like, oh, because you hear, and I was used to be in support groups, and you hear, I so and so and so and so, I don't hear from them, or and I did have a few friends that fell off, Columbus fell off the earth, but that happens, and it's okay. And that's a natural part of life. You just have to embrace the friends that are always going to be there for you. And there's some that are not, and that's okay. And you bless them and release them, and let it go. Because right, like that Frozen song, let it go. You just have to let it go, because things happen in life, and people change, and you change, and the world changes, and you have to adjust. And sometimes it's not what you want, but you have to figure out a way to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Right.
And yeah, not every person, like some people are for different seasons of your life.
Correct.
And
yes, I definitely. And just the other day, for some reason, I was like, I hadn't talked to a friend since 2014. Like all of a sudden her name popped in my head, and I was like, I'm going to call her. And I called her, and it's still the same cell phone number. And I was like, I haven't heard back from her, and I probably won't. But I was like, what happened? I don't even remember why we're not in touch anymore. But all of a sudden I was walking down the street, and I was like, I'm going to call her. And I called her, and maybe that was just that time in my life, and from 2014 and earlier, that we were friends. And I'm not even sure she's even in New York State anymore, but it was just funny. Like I think you said it so perfectly, that there's those times of your life where those people are there for a reason, and then they're not there for a reason. And there's no rhyme or reason about it. But yeah, I was feeling very nostalgic, and I was like, gosh, we had a lot of fun together, especially at karaoke. We did karaoke duets all the time. I'm like, that was so fun at Bliss Bar in Queens, and then we drink at Sidetracks Bar and Grill. So yeah, it was. So I think people are there for a reason sometimes, and things change, and so you just have to embrace what you have. And I think I've learned a lot of gratitude, and I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I am very inspired by you in so many ways. And I just, you talk so much about like the connections between people, and how it's just really beautiful. Like, you're, talk, the way that you talk about your audience and your family, and, your friends. And yeah, it's just, obviously those are the things that are really the most important.
They are
things.
Yeah, they are. And the relationships that you build, you have to. I was talking to someone the other day about, especially with acting, it was like, you can do it 24/7, but you shouldn't. You have to live your life. Go to a baseball game, like go do everything, to be well-rounded, be a well-rounded person. And you can't just have this one focus. Do different things, bungee jump tomorrow, and then go to a pottery class. Like just go to a yoga class, just do different things. And we were talking about that with acting, because it's like I could look at a script all day and do this all day, but you have to kind of live your life. And we were talking that you can't really act a part if you don't draw from a life you don't have. Because everything I do, I draw from my life. And and you can't draw from life if you're not living a life. And so I think it was just an interesting thing to talk about, because obviously uh, things have been affected by the pandemic, and theaters are closing and things are changing as we speak. Tony Award winning shows are closing, but you have to keep going and you have to find a way. And if a door shuts, then you've got to figure out what door. Like Encanto, I love that movie, and it's like that door, like everybody gets their door, so you have to make your door. And it's probably not a great analogy with the movie, but it just kind of reminded me of that, like when everybody had their moment, everyone has their time, and then you create that. And so Dorothy with her red slippers could go home anytime, but she didn't realize that. So you have to realize, where are my red ruby slippers? How can I find a way back home if I'm lost? And that's the other thing too. You're just making me think too, that I had mentioned about support groups, that it's not easy. And I'm in a bereavement support group. Like I know I don't worry about asking for help. And in fact, when it was my dad's birthday, I actually took the day off. Like I was like, I said that I was like, I'm going to take the day off for my father's birthday for the first time that he's not here. So I feel that self-care and speaking up for what you need is really important. And I'm not afraid to ask for help. And the times have been trying, and I fully admit that I need help, and I'm not afraid to get it. And I think that's a huge thing for all of us to realize, that it's okay not to be okay. And we've heard that 1,000 times. It's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to cry. After one of the shows in Sweden, and I was doing this curtain speech, and I was like, here it comes. And I was like, okay, the tsunami of tears are coming. And I was like, I said to the audience, I'm not apologizing. I said, this is where I'm at. I miss my dad and I wish he were here, and I'm going to cry. And then I stopped crying, because I think I put it out there like, it's coming. And I did cry, but I was like, you have to be how you are in the moment. And I was like, I'm not going to deny that I need help. I need a support group. I'm having a hard time. And I think that's important to recognize, and not be like, I'm fine. No, I'm not fine. I'm not fine.
Yeah.
And nope. And you had mentioned a career change. Maybe you were like, nope, I need a career change. Like I need to make a change for myself. And we have to recognize that about ourselves. What do we need? And what can we do for ourselves? And how do we express what we need? And I think cancer taught me that, right?
My final guess for this portion of of the interviews is Sarah Cross, and she by far has my favorite voice of all of my guests. I could just listen to her all day. And her episode was about storytelling, the power of storytelling, and how to become a better storyteller, which I definitely have taken some pieces of, but I still am working on my storytelling skills. I still am not great. But like very inspiring, and definitely I want to become a better storyteller. So I really appreciated her episode. And here is a clip from it.
I think one of the most important in a good story is somebody that has excited themselves. It's about how you feel. You know, when we really lean into somebody telling a story, it's often because they are enthusiastic about the story they're telling. They are engaged. They fully can't get the words out fast enough, possibly. But I think there's a lot of emotion attached to stories. And the science is behind it as well, is that our brain lights up when certain kind of emotions are released, the enthusiasm. And so our brains naturally lean in and remember them more than other things. And so just the simple thing of telling, an honest, genuine story of something that happened to yourself or someone but something that you really feel is important. I know that when we hear those kind of stories, I listen to TED Talks a lot, and there's so many of them there, the kind of stories that really engage you. But I also believe that there is an art to it as well, and a science, in that it's something that we can totally improve, because I've listened to great speakers and people around. And so there's things that you can do with your voice, things that you can, the way you present yourself. There are obviously the start of a story is very important, particularly now with social media, when people's attention is all over the place. Thinking about the ending of story, there's so many elements to it. And of course, we only have to look at places like films or Netflix or all those like Disney. What creates that great story? And often there's somebody in it, a character, and often that is yourself, if it's you telling the story, that goes through some challenge, some horrific event, something they have to overcome. And in that process, you're like, oh, you start to like engage in terms of be pulled in those heartstrings. And then you really root for that character. And then to see them come out the other side, the kind of hero's journey really is the classic one that a lot of Disney stories are based upon. Because I've heard it said that if you want to make a character unlovable, make them perfect. And so nobody wants to hear the story where everything goes great, everything works out, everything falls into a line. For a good story, we definitely need that drama of things going wrong, because without it, there really is no story.
Figured I should do a little outro to kind of wrap things up. Going back and listening to all of my old episodes, one, I realized that some of my first interviews, definitely, some of them were a little bit rough. Two, I feel incredibly grateful to have had those conversations. It's just really, I just feel really lucky that there's been people who have wanted me to interview them, and to have like so many interesting, it's like having these conversations with just like people that are completely normal, like average people. And it's like about like what is important to you, and what is fun to you, and what lights you up, and things like that, has been very fulfilling. And also finding that like really quickly the podcast became more than just like, oh, what is fun. It's because it's like there's all these like barriers to having fun sometimes, that are are part of being human. And not letting those things control you. I also found myself like listening to some of these things and just being like so moved again by people's stories. Like especially like Valerie David, like listening to her talk about like when her father died, and like when she was talking about that like in person, like when we were over the video, I was like tearing up with her, and then listening back to it again, like it's just like so heartfelt, and I felt it again, her pain over her father's death, and yeah, and I feel lucky to be trusted with people's stories like that are really important to them. It's been a really nice thing to go back and listen to these old episodes and reflect back on the last year and a half. Yeah, so I hope that you enjoyed the episode, and happy 2024. And take care and definitely have some fun, and think back at your 2023 and the good times that you had, because I think reflection, especially towards what is good, makes it easier to work through the things that are maybe not so good sometimes, because it's it just makes you remember that it's the hard times are not gonna last. They're not forever. And then I hope that you think forward to 2024 with all of the hope that we often take into the new year, and that you think about your growth and about the fun things that you have to look forward to in your life, and that you make some plans to have some fun. And then, sometimes you don't make plans, but you have fun anyway, you know? So anyway, yeah, happy 2024, and I'll see you soon. Bye.